just hung out in the parking lot.
I guess.
Yes. And we went to high school together for 1 year.
If you want to put the chair over there.
I don't want to be
I know, I'm the same way, but Aaron.
sliding it right here.
That was a trick that I used to do out loud. Is I would set up the chairs and no one would sit in the front row. And before it started, I was taking away the front row. So the people that were in the second row are now in the front row.
That's cool.
I always set them on this. So are we live? We're rolling. Okay.
We'll give people 2 minutes to walk so that people can get in. No one else is there? Good.
Live. Fancy. 0 people watching yet, but
We have one watching.
we have one.
It might be counting me, but regardless.
There you go. There you go. I'm looking at the framing so I can. Oh, I can.
Yeah, Marcia, the way you view a live.
Secret.
If you want to watch on it and type in your questions there, feel free to do that. If you're gonna be a little shy, you can be anonymous.
Yeah, that's right.
Alright, let me go check the audio over here. Y'all keep talking and then once we are good.
Natalie's watching.
Spiel then. Welcome everyone. We are in the first floor Wednesday and really enjoy the artist in the artist space while the arts is up and around us and we figure out the whys and the hows and all that great stuff directly from the artist. Today, we have artist Gregory Price. Now, Gregory is headlining this exhibit called Decolonized. It's actually a group show, so do you want to start out by just letting everybody know who all was involved in these?
In the last year, I started opening my studio to people to come on Tuesday nights or every other Tuesday night to interact and make more art. So I had my friend Janae and Danny and Dan and Haley and Oliver all came through and made stuff, along with other people that made stuff that aren't in this show. A lot of the pieces are my watercolor and some of their words. Some of the prints are from my friend Dan, and the blue piece on the medic scrub is from Oliver.
And so we should say that your studio is where?
It's in Woodlawn in Birmingham, Alabama. It's right out of Earth Library.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be an artist and how you came to create these works?
I'm from Huntsville. I grew up here until I was about 15, moved out a little bit, moved back for a little bit, and went to school in Montebello where I did not study art at Montebello. I studied social work. And I was always around artists, but never really the art school thing. But I've been into really folk art and using found materials and moving from woodworking into watercolors over the past couple of years, and just exploring new mediums with the watercolors and doing that in the past year.
So did you also have a history in printmaking? You make a lot of things like
Printmaking, like the one I've got on here, that's been a job for 30 years, and it's been an access to make art and help people make art. So my studio in Woodlawn, I help local artists do print series for some of the painters and some of the quilters that can't really sell massive quilter painting all the time. They'll come in and do some prints with me and stuff like that after I did t-shirts for 25 years.
And what was the seed that started the is it Tuesday night? What seed started the community art making? What brought that about?
Just constantly seeing Palestine in the news and watching everything go on and people needing an outlet that aren't necessarily artists, but being creative and coming in and making stuff just to get a release upon with people that think in the same manner.
Okay, so this is a new a new ongoing.
The community is a new thing. Like at the studio, I've always had people come in that are normally artists that I work with, that I do prints for. But this was to invite people to give them a release from the stress of life and keeping up with the news, that they can come in and make something that's be creative. And we make a lot of protest posters and some banners for stuff like that, and a couple of t-shirt designs that people can wear around.
So some of these were for specific events in Birmingham or outside of Birmingham?
Mostly in Birmingham. Maybe some of them went to Montgomery and Tuscaloosa with some of the younger kids that came to Tuesday nights. So yeah, that's mostly right.
And I'm a firm believer that anyone who makes art is an artist. So it doesn't matter if you're trained. So all these people, what did they find comforting about using art to express their voice as a vehicle?
A lot of them were good with their words, and a lot of them were poets. So them to express their words and put them on paper and let them be seen was a way for them to get their words out. So, and to also help some people start painting for the first time and realizing that painting is fun and easy, and it's not always having to be a perfect picture.
And as you said, a lot of these went to protests and specific events. I think there were dates and times on some of these works. What role do you think art has in activism? How do art and activism go together in your mind, specifically for the times that we live in, but also in general?
Art really pushes people to go do things and go see things. Like there's bake sale ones that are in the show that help raise money for families, and having a visual to go with the thing instead of the stuff basic stuff bake sale can really push, and like seeing the amount of views you get on Instagram is important sometimes to have like it being shown over and over and over again. And also like the Michael Rappaport is an welcome piece. He was a comedian that laughed at people dying constantly on his Instagram. And when he wanted to have a show in Birmingham, numerous people spoke up about not wanting him there. And that is one of my most viewed pieces online. And his show was canceled. And this, through people speaking up, you know, we don't want a comedian that jokes about genocide. So showing art and having images to be like, help get this guy out, a cute little picture can go a long way.
Mm-hmm. So when some of this art is created, some of this was specifically for this exhibit, and some were for other events. Do you want to discuss what was created for this show? Which pieces?
This piece really was created for this show. I'll start with this piece. The history of the U.S. goes round and round. So I share my studio with Jobs to Move America, and they help set up unions around the country, but they also try to get prison labor paid. And Alabama has a terrible prison system. It's one of the worst there is. And in the New York Times 2 Octobers ago, they were featured in there, and that's the school bus from the New York Times, or prison bus, that I drew up and put a different wording on, because the prison labor, they go and do real jobs. They don't get parole. They keep on working every day. They're good enough to leave to go work, but they're not good enough to get parole when they're set for parole. And they're not getting paid for the work. They're slave labor. So that's one of the pieces I did based on, I would have probably done the piece anyways, but sharing my space with Jobs to Move America that is working with the prisoners, trying to get them paid, and trying to get out when they're just seen as slave labor. So.
And this piece was just you, no collaboration on this piece?
No collaboration on this piece. This one was actually done before I started the community nights. It's just an older one that I have not shown anywhere, so I wanted to include it in the show.
So when you make a piece like this, are you thinking audience? Or are you thinking just this is my expression? Who are you trying to communicate to?
This one was my expression, and it was a personal piece to give to the office.
Okay.
For them to have in their office and be like, hey, here's a gift. We share our space together. here's art for you to have of the work that you do. I did put it on Instagram to have it visual, but I really wanted to have it in the show once there was a show set up. So I wanted to include it. It's been one of my favorite pieces that I've done. Especially dealing with Alabama and KIV and slave labor.
I do want to talk about this,
This big,
Huntsville specific.
the Huntsville specific piece, I've always had a thing for city maps, for like the touristy maps that have the little business names on it. I grew up with a dad that worked on the Arsenal, eventually moved to Oak Ridge and was director at Y12. So I grew up.
So for people who don't know what Y12 is, could you?
That's in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where Manhattan Project was done, and the uranium and plutonium was there. It deals with nuclear weapons. My dad worked on nuclear weapons there and in Colorado and here in Huntsville. He helped store nuclear weapons underground in the 70s and 80s here. So I have to look at, like, do you follow a monetary compass or do you follow a moral compass when you go to work? It's like, it's kind of, you grow up with a dad that creates weapons that kill people all over the world, and he was happy to do it. Some people can admit that they just go to work for a paycheck. But some people out there, they're happy to go out there, and they know the realistics of that these bombs are getting dropped whenever Netanyahu or previous administrations wanted to drop them on whoever they dropped them on. And then 30 years later, they'll be, oh yeah, we killed all the civilians. We didn't care. So now with all the live streams and all the Instagrams, like seeing the stories, you can be like, this is real. You can't just write it off and wait 30 years for the history to come back. And to have a dad and a bunch of dads that work in Huntsville that be like, they happily go and make well into six-figure incomes and waste all our tax dollars on weapons. When we have a reserve of weapons that can last forever already anyways, we're just making weapons for Israel. The two illustrations I've done of bombs, our bombs are sent to Israel from Raytheon here in Huntsville. All the businesses listed, there's about 27 businesses that make components that go to genocide in Huntsville. I only listed the ones that make over $1 billion a year. So I couldn't list all the companies. I just listed the ones that make over at least $1 billion a year. And then when Trump wanted to call it the Department of War, I was like, at least Trump's being honest. It's war. It's not defense. It never has been defense. With him renaming that, I put the Arsenal there with the Department of War. Because we're annexation device. We're there to take over people. And that was it. I don't like Trump, but he is honest. He's telling you what he's going to do, and he's going to keep on doing it. I surrounded the Arsenal with paper clips from Operation Paperclip when the American government brought over the Nazis to help guide an eternal revolution. It's all about money. It's all about making the rich richer. And in the 40s, we brought the Nazis here, and we let the Nazis take over then. And they took over America. They took over the government, they took over the army.
And what, same thing is this piece. Who is your audience? Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to communicate? Because I would say that almost any art that incorporates text is trying to communicate.
It is trying to communicate. I do have friends that work at some of these companies. Some of them do the jobs that their dads did. And it's just like, come on guys, get a moral compass and like, you don't have to make money doing that. You can make less money and survive. You don't have to be in the mega mansions of Huntsville just because you're getting a paycheck. Yes, you're punching numbers and you're making one component. See the bigger component and all the pieces going down and getting dropped everywhere. It gets dropped and killing everybody. So, and some kids don't know what their parents do. They're like, their parents did. My dad was proud to tell me what he did. He was proud to tell me about expansion. He was honest with what war is. He was an asshole. So, but he was honest with it at least. He didn't lie to himself about what he made, and he didn't lie to me about what was going on. It was expansion, takeover, greed.
So, yes, in your brain, the audience that you would most like to see this would be employees?
Employees, the kids of the employees that these employees don't tell what they do. And this anybody in Huntsville that there's some people in Huntsville who probably don't really realize what's made here. That's probably a very small number. But there are people that are unaware of what goes on in Huntsville. Like, not everybody is a government employee. Not everybody wants to even know what the government does. They just want to keep it quiet and let it be to the side. So a lot of people in Huntsville really need to see who they hang out with. And if you have friends that hang out, that work at these businesses, you need to question them and be like, what's really going on with your life that you need to be doing this?
So who's hurt?
Are there any of the other pieces that you want to discuss in this?
Most of the pieces are just flyers. There is one that's about Adriana Smith that was the lady in Georgia that was held on life support to have a baby. So there are other political topics in here, and that was just one person that did poetry for it, and then I did a watercolor around it. But the other pieces are the bake sales mutual aid, which is really important to have a mutual aid, because the government's not going to pay for us. We're broke and we're spending all our money on Israel, so we're going to have to pay for each other. Like when something goes wrong, it's up. The insurances are getting higher. It's just up to people in their own communities to take care of each other.
So, with art that could be considered more confrontational, does that play, and do you find that confrontation gets in the way of the possibility of someone getting into your community? Do you think that sometimes it can push people away?
I don't feel it can push anybody away. It might push somebody inside themselves, but it's not pushing anybody away. Like, I don't see this piece as confrontational at all. It's facts, it's in the papers. The numbers are there, what they're making is there, and there's videos of bombs going and killing children at school.
Well, do we have any questions from the audience at the moment? We got one here.
Yes, as a visual artist myself, I express it through bold painting, and it can be confrontational at times or questionable, you know. So, to the people that are so triggered by your work, if you could say one thing comforting to them, what would that be?
The only thing comforting I'd say is read more. If you're not reading enough, you're not understanding what's going on. And if you're only checking one news source, I check the liberal, I check the conservative, I check the foreign, I check in 10 news sources before I look at things. Read more is the only thing to make you feel like this is to help you with confrontation.
Thank you.
So are there, what in the art do you think would portray that? Well, I see what you're saying. It's like that is what you would love for people to do, is go find more research, do some more things. What do you think that is with this work that would compel someone to do?
I mean, the simple "what does your daddy do at work?" That's a simple question. It might be an offensive question to someone that has to question what their dad does at work. I didn't like talking about what my dad did at work growing up. I can talk about it comfortably now. As I've read more and grown more in my life, like, it was depressing to know what my dad did at work as a kid.
So it seems like some of what you're saying is conversations about things make them easier. Did you, when you were younger, did you have someone to converse with about these things, or?
I mean, I was told I was wrong by my dad about what I thought. And then as I got into high school, I'd start to talk with fellow students about not being happy with war and not being happy like the first Iraq and stuff like that.
Do we have any online questions?
We do not as of now. So let's take a couple more from in person, maybe.
Do we have any more in-person questions? One over here.
Can you give me a book that you feel inspired by or have been inspired by with your work?
With my work, I can't think of the title, but there's a book on London printmaking from World War I, where they ran a community print shop, and it's all imagery, but all the imagery is words and the use of words on flyers that were hung up and made during World War I, and just a constant fight and push against the war. So, and it showed later history too, but it started with World War I. But I just can't remember the name of the book right now. But I think it's like Guy Fawkes and something like that. So.
Thank you.
And there also is the Soy Cuba book, which is a pictorial history of Cuban illustrations that deal with a lot of revolutionary topics and political topics in that as well.
And if we could talk about style for a moment, because I know that your style is the same whether you're illustrating state flowers or band posters or things of that nature. It seems often.
I mean, I grew up loving Howard Fenster. Is really all it is. Like, I do daily scribbles and drawings, but when I look at my work, I'm proud that I grew up with Howard Fenster and all his messages and all his basic things that he did.
And for people who might not be familiar with what are those messages?
If you're not familiar with Howard Fenster, you just look up Talking Heads album covers and you'll see his work, and Paradise Gardens and Georgia. He was a preacher and he did a lot of topics. And that's what I grew up on. And then when I moved to Birmingham, I got to know Joe Mentor and I go to his place like 10 to 15 times a year and visit him. And he's got 3 acres of outside art where it's basically an African-American history from the slave ships till current day. So, and it's all heavy political, it's all painted words, and it's all vibrant to me.
And Fincher is long past. He's been around for a long time, obviously big influence. Joe has been doing stuff down in Birmingham for a long time. So I understand your appreciation of those two. But is it? But it seems like you're saying that basically this specific Palestine-Israel is the event that pushed you into making.
That pushed me into.
Would you call
that
this
pushed me into having a community group nights and stuff. That's because it's me chatting with people on the phone at night, being like, hey, I was like, no, let's get together and let's have a group night and make some stuff and relax instead of just sending each other clips of people dying.
But not all of the stuff is even made to go out and be seen by the public?
There have been some personal pieces made at the group nights, but almost everything goes out. I work with a group called the Stands that is always hanging stuff up in Birmingham. We do banner drops. We'll make a big banner in one night and it'll be on the side of the other side the next day. And I've allowed space for people to come in and make those banners and drop them.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for Greg?
I don't know how to phrase this. So you seem like a huge contradiction to me because I hear you talk about your father and what he did, and I know that if you're born into a family, you don't necessarily get to choose what you want to do.
No, you don't.
So I hear the anger in that, but I also hear that you've made this space for people to come together and help each other in this way. Are you trying to get people to come together and feel better, or are you trying to push back?
No, because people come in and people have come in and just done their own poetry and done their own stuff. But a lot of people do come and do political stuff
Just to feel better.
just to feel better. Yeah, it's a release of what you're seeing.
So how much of,
Overall, there's nothing we can do about it. We're a small number of people, so it's just a personal release.
So you're not trying to hurt people in this. You're trying to help people.
No, it's just a personal release of what you see and what you. Yeah.
so,
Just trying to understand.
yes, and I think that's where I was coming from with the confrontational and who the audience is like, but is this, percentage-wise, what would you say is this you having a release, and on one side, and you trying to have an impact on a viewer on the other side?
I need the release for myself personally. If someone views it and gets something out of it, that's great. But I just need the release personally. People would stop. I need the release no matter what.
Yeah, but you're one painting.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a group show, and we really hope to have other participants come, and we would love to have you back. This exhibit is up until Saturday, November 22nd, so we would love for people to come in person and see it. And I hope to have you back. We can stay and do more discussions when we have now that the cameras are going off. Thank you very much, Greg.